Divas. Welcome back to the show. Today we have a special guest. This week and next week, we will have a two-part episode. Today's special guest is John Morgan. He is seriously running for governor, he says, and he was in Tallahassee this week. We followed up with him after his Tiger Bay appearance, and we have a really interesting conversation. We get deep into a discussion not only about politics, but also about God. And also, he gives us a little bit of insight into President Joe Biden's cognitive and physical health and what he saw the last time he interacted with the president and the first lady. Former first lady and the former president, I should say. All right, so stick around. We did tag the episode with an explicit warning. I just want to give you a verbal warning that there is some explicit grown-up language here, so just be forewarned. Okay, John Morgan, Divas, welcome back.
I believe that the two-party system is the problem. If you had a third party where no party had the majority, then you'd have to do something that none of these people seem to ever want to do or ever mention the word, which is compromise.
You're listening to Deeper Dive with Dara, a podcast by the News Service of Florida. Let's dive in.
Here we are, John Morgan, Pot Daddy. Welcome back to A Deeper Dive.
Good to be back.
I missed you yesterday. You were here in town and you were talking about a lot of the things that I want to talk about today. I guess I don't want to bury the lead. So maybe we should start out with something that you spoke about yesterday. You said people should take you seriously when you say that you're thinking of running for governor and as a third party candidate. I'd like you to, what we do here, and you've been on the show before, so thank you for coming back, and you know how to do this well. It's a long form deep dive, so we don't need to do sound bites. I'm curious to know why you think a third party is the way to go. And, when you say seriously, how seriously is that? Pot Daddy seriously or 100% serious so let's start with that.
It's all going to depend on who the nominees are for the Democrats and the Republicans. The one thing that I don't do is I don't tilt at windmills. I will take a moonshot. I took a moonshot with marijuana and I took a moonshot with the minimum wage. Everybody told me you have no chance. The guy who owned Progressive, who gave me some money, he called me a romantic, Peter Lewis. He said, "You're a romantic."
That has a kind of Don Quixote-ish flair to it,
I'm
right?
Not romantic.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
No, but my wife does not think I'm romantic. My wife heard that I was romantic, that she'd say, "They don't know you."
Being romantic in your personal life, in your romantic life, is different than being romantic in your political life.
Next week's my 43rd wedding anniversary, so I'm romantically planning a dinner somewhere. So I am romantic to a degree.
Well, congratulations to you for 43 years of marriage.
Well, they don't call her Saint Ultima for nothing.
Saint Ultima. I kept thinking her name was Madonna, and I didn't want to say the wrong name. Yes, Ultima.
She's like the Madonna.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it, I've watched politics nationally, state, and what do I see? I see two parties that are so far apart and getting further apart every single day, driven by the fringe on each side. Then what I see from my perspective is all these ballot initiatives that have happened and passed with over 60% of the vote, which, as you know, is a landslide.
Mm-hmm.
My conclusion from that is that most of us agree on most things: marijuana, felons' rights, minimum wage, fair districts. It goes on and on.
Universal pre-K. We could go on and on.
We could go on and on.
Right.
But what we know is none of those are ever going to happen in the Florida legislature, ever, because legislators are wholly owned by special interest. And they're there for, the leaders are there for 2 years to have their resume, I'm the president, I'm the speaker, and then they go home and they did nothing for the people. So what do I think is missing? I think that the missing link, and I could be wrong, but I think the missing link is the two-party system. I believe that the two-party system is the problem. If you had a third party where no party had the majority, then you'd have to do something that none of these people seem to ever want to do or ever mention the word, which is compromise. If a legislator says, I'm going to compromise, they're going to be voted out of office by their party. The left and the right want all or nothing. In my Brooklyn office, I have a sign when you walk in. It says, done is better than perfect. And I like that because I'd rather have something than nothing. And so my thought is a third party. People running for independent, I don't really know Jason Pizzo, but I understand his frustration. I understand what his frustration is. And I understand what some of his caucus's frustration is with him. Okay, so it doesn't make you bad. It just makes you disagree. But what I believe is that we as people, as voters, we want to be on a team. We want to be on a team. How many times have you ever gone out in public and seen a jersey with no logo, no name, no number? We want to be on a team. And my thought, and I say I could be wrong, my thought is if you had a team that people could say, this is my team, not NPA, not libertarian. I mean, libertarian is basically like, here's what we want to do. We want to ride motorcycles with no helmet. We want to be able to smoke marijuana in public. We want to be able to smoke cigarettes at the airport. We want to do what the fuck we want to do. It's our body, our life. Don't tell me what to do. And by the way, I might be libertarian, but you need a sane party. NPA, Green Party is too narrow. But there's a bunch of us, and I've used this line before in my speeches, it's the song Stealers Wheel. You've heard it. Jokers to the left of me, clowns to the right, stuck in the middle.
Recording in progress.
Oops, sorry. I just turned on the recording button. But yes, jokers to the left of me, clowns to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. With me, with you. That's the party. That would be our party theme song, stuck in the middle. And so I believe that there's people, I think there's, I don't know how many independents out there, 30-something% maybe, that could go along with it. It's like, hey, are you pro-choice? Are you a Republican? Are you pro-choice? Yeah. Are you a Democrat? Are you pro-choice? Okay, are you a Republican okay with marijuana? Yeah. Are you a Democrat? Okay. Okay. And you start adding all these things up, and before you know it, you got a party where we don't agree on everything, but we agree on 80% of everything. We don't need everything. Done is better than perfect. Something is better than nothing. And that's what I'm thinking. So we'll see. So to create a party starting from scratch, that means you want an infrastructure, some sort of infrastructure for a party. I think I don't know if you were joking or you're serious that you were going to do a contest for the naming. I was assuming it would be the For the People Party. I don't know why I thought that.
Well, I'll tell you why it's not. Ron Meyer did all my legal work on this. My documents are done. Okay. My documents are done.
For the party or for your gubernatorial?
For the party.
Okay.
All I need now are 4 people to join the party. Then I've got a party. And then the question is, who's coming to my party? Mr. Smarty had a party.
So where can the divas sign up to be part of your party?
Well, they'll sign up where they sign up to be NPA, the same places.
Okay, but so what is it called?
Well, here's the deal. I don't know. The Democratic Party is basically 2 sides. There's the socialists, and now they're not even making any bones about it. We're socialists. And I'm okay with that because it sounds good on paper. Marxism sounds good on paper. We're all going to work for the common good. We're all going to have a nice life. How did that work out in China? How did that work out in Russia? How did that work out in Cuba? It doesn't work. It sounds good on paper.
Mm-hmm.
I asked my wife once, I said, would you give up all of our money and everything we have if the whole world, the whole 8.5 billion people had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a white picket fence and a barbecue grill? Would you give up everything that were all the same? And she said, let me ask you a question. Would the houses have air conditioning? I said, okay, yeah, the houses will have air conditioning. She goes, yes, then I would do it. And so would I. So would I.
Okay.
So would I. But that's not the way it works.
Right.
If you want to be a country like France and be socialist almost, you have to realize that in doing so, you can't have a big military and have all these social entitlements. And that's why the United States is the only difference between Russia taking over France and not. There's only so much money. So we get 4 people, there becomes a party, and then we have a party. Then we have a chance, a moonshot, to do something totally different that's never been done.
Okay, but I'm going back to my same question. You've got the paperwork. You need 4 people. So what's the holdup? Like, why can't I join the John Morgan party today?
Well, all right, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So I said to Ron, Ron, since half the Republican Party, half the Democratic Party is socialist, why don't I call the new party the capitalist?
Okay.
Well, evidently capitalism is a dirty word.
Did you focus group it?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah. And they don't like it.
No.
They don't like it. So I was tone deaf to that. Then I said, like you said, I said to Ron, why don't we call it the People's Party?
I think there already is a People's Party, isn't there?
Well, then he said people could mix that up with the communist China.
Oh, okay. All right. I think there is a People's Party somewhere. I don't know. Maybe not in Florida.
Yeah. So I go, well, we don't want to do that. So my idea is to say, here's what we'll do. If you like this idea, sign up and have a prize, name the party.
Mm.
You know, one time I had a contest for people to create a jingle for me. And you can go online and see it. I said, whoever comes up with a jingle that I use, I'll give you $100,000. And a kid in Altamont Springs came up with this greatest jingle you'll ever see. And he was in his room and it had all these different instruments and it was fantastic. And I gave him $100,000. So my plan is to think of a prize amount, tell people to submit their names, and whoever submits the name that we choose the first time, I can't have duplicates or I go broke.
Right.
And to have the people name the party.
Okay. And so when are you going to start doing that?
I'm going to send that out right after Memorial Day. I'm going to.
So like next week?
Yeah.
Like his Memorial Day is a week from this weekend. So in 10 days.
Yes.
All right. So watch this space. Is that going to go out on billboards or in email?
No, I'm social media.
Social media, where you have a huge following.
I know how to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll be interesting. And so then I'm sure you'll get 4 people. So how long will it take for this people to be able to actually register for this party?
Well, they'll have to go and register legally like you do when you change your party affiliation. So, and that could be a heavy lift. But I'm not as worried about that other than them actually changing, other than them saying to themselves, I'm part of this.
Oh, I see. It's not like
I'm part of it.
Okay.
I would like them to register, but I don't think it's necessary.
Well, you know, they're having a hell of a time with the Democrats trying to register voters or keep them registered in Florida. So that might be a heavy lift.
Yeah. Remember Andrew Gillum was going to register 1 million new voters?
We're not going to start talking about Andrew Gillum yet. And we'll be right back with John Morgan. Moffitt Cancer Center is a comprehensive cancer center serving all of Florida. Moffitt is dedicated to advancing patient care with groundbreaking research and therapies delivered directly to patients' bedsides. From superior survival rates to innovative treatments shaping the future of healthcare, Moffitt offers the highest level of diagnosis, treatment, and personalized care. At Moffitt, patients experience life-saving outcomes that surpass national averages. Discover how Moffitt is defining the future of cancer care. Visit moffitt.org/impact to learn more. You know what time it is, divas. It's that time. It's that time of the week. The news in haikus, the news in haikus. Pot daddy for Gov. He blowing smoke or for reals? Third party bacon. That's the news in haikus. Don't forget, we'd love to hear your haiku. You can slide them into my DMs or you can send them to podcasts. That's podcasts with an S at e.newsserviceflorida.com. Wherever you're listening, please don't forget to subscribe and give us a rating if you like what we're doing. And we're back with John Morgan. He's toying with running for governor. You're going to get people to align with your policies. And
then after they align,
and it's
I'll
going to be
start
a
saying,
centrist. It's going to be a centrist, right? A centrist party?
yes, it's going to be a centrist party. It's going to be a party where we all agree on about 80% of everything.
So what about no labels? I mean, they tried to do this with on the national level, and I think it kind of fell flat. Although I will say that I saw Jason Pizzo posted a selfie with the woman who I guess is the head of No Labels on social media today or yesterday, and I thought, oh, I guess it's still around, but I was unaware. They're not really a thing.
There's another group. I got a text today from. You remember Christine? What was the governor of New Jersey? Christine, was it Whitman?
Yeah.
She and Andrew Yang wrote me today. They got something going on.
Huh.
But see, I don't, and I could be wrong. No Labels is no team. What team are you on? I'm No Labels. I don't have a team. I believe fervently that you can't be No Labels or NPA or independent, that there has to be a team.
Okay.
There has to be a team.
You got to have something to put on your ball cap.
You got to have something to put on your ball cap. You have to have a convention hall to go to with people with the jerseys
with
and the
t-shirts.
T-shirts.
You need the merch.
And we need the merch. We got the Pot Daddy merch.
That's right.
We need the centrist merch or the capitalist merch or the People's Party merch.
How do we get to where we are as a society where the fringes took control of the parties, if that's true, as you say, and I can't really
it's
disagree.
True, and here's how it happened. One word: gerrymandering.
I have that on my list of reasons here.
Okay, well, gerrymandering, that's how, what's the lady in Georgia?
Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, gerrymandering. And look, Nancy Pelosi, San Francisco. It goes both ways. And you have these districts, very few flip districts.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thought on it is you have a third team that can come in and pick off, but I think you have to have a team. I could be wrong. I mean, it's like, hey, what's the name of your baseball team? We don't have a name. People want a name.
Right.
No label. We're the No Labels.
They want to belong to something.
Listen, all you need to know is this.
Okay.
Go watch any sports in America. Watch the intensity. Go to Cleveland. Watch the wintertime. People with their shirts on and their big bellies painted orange and the Cleveland hat on, and they're barking like a dog in the
Well, I mean, hell,
or the gator.
I mean, all you have to do is go on social media right now. I mean, and you can see that in politics, it's all over I don't know how well that reflects society. You're right. The sports teams, the Gators and I live in a football town. I can.
And by the way, can you ever imagine saying, I'm a Gator and I'm a Seminole, but I don't really watch it anymore, and say, I'm going to be No Labels. No, you need a team. You need a city. You need something to be behind. And I think where they've missed, and listen, I'm just one person. I think where they've missed is having no labels. You need a label. You need a team. And by the way, why do you need a team? Because in America, most people get up every day and they don't get to win or lose. They go to work, they make a paycheck, and they come home. They don't get to win or lose. Where they get to win and lose vicariously is through sports and through politics. And
so they're empowered through their tribal affiliations.
Exactly. And here's the proof of the pudding. I have 4 children who played youth sports. I have grandchildren who play in youth sports. When you go out and watch the coaches at Little League and Pop Warner, there's some real assholes.
They're the
out
worst. Yes, my daughter was in.
Okay, so you know the drill.
Yeah.
But so there's some coaches who are like, hey, but there's some coaches because they don't get to win or lose.
The dads are the worst.
But the dads don't get to win or lose sometimes in their jobs. And there's a need.
Oh, so they're projecting their need to win onto the
little boys.
Right.
I had one time, I remember as coach, my son was playing and it was a scrimmage baseball. And the guy said, hey, will you umpire? I'm like, yeah, I umpire. Well, when I was a kid, I umpired. So I got there, I'm behind the pitcher. It's a scrimmage. They're not even real.
Right.
This kid comes up, this counts 2 and 2. They throw the ball. I call a strike. You're out. The coach comes storming out like Tommy Lasorda, screaming, turns his hat around to me. He's in.
Oh my goodness.
I go, George. I said, George.
Oh,
listen.
No.
I said, listen. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the call. Obviously, you could see the home plate better from the dugout than I could from behind because I was calling all the bases too.
Right.
I said, son, go back. You didn't strike out. I'm going to give you a ball on that. The count is full count. Go back. And I took my little clicker that they'd give me to umpire, and I took George's pocket, and I opened it, and I dropped the clicker, and I said to George, you got to understand something. I don't give a fuck.
Right. People are assholes.
So I say, yeah. So I'm like, and then I walked away, and when I sat down, so now the count's full, 3 balls, two strikes. You know what the kid did? The ball comes in 10 feet over his head. He takes the bat like a big hatchet, strike 3. And I go.
He swung at it just on purpose.
No, he swung at it, not on purpose. He swung at it over his head, and he was out anyway.
Okay.
So all that for nothing.
Right.
But because I've sat on those fields, because I'll sit on that field tonight, these men and some women, they have a need to win. Business people get up and win and lose every day. Here's their business. And there's an adrenaline with that. But most people, they come and they put in their 40 hours and they're just hoping for maybe a raise at the end of the year, maybe a bonus, but they don't get to win or lose. You get to win or lose vicariously through your teams.
Okay. All right, you sold me. You convinced me that you need to have a label, and you've got a mechanism in place to do that. And you've told me you're centrist. You think people are in the fringes, and the reason why we have become so tribal, or the parties have become so
no compromise.
Okay, and because of that, or because they are
all or nothing.
But it's gotten so bad. I wonder. Is there really room in the middle anymore?
Well,
like
all I know is this.
Question.
All I know is when you go to parliaments around the world, you got 3 or 4 or 5 parties. Look, how many parties does Israel have? And you have snap elections. And if shit doesn't get done, there's a snap election. Here, it's just 4 years of hell. You don't get to, there's no compromise.
You've been around a while. I've been around. You are a very influential in politics and have been for many years. I feel like it's like new rules. It's an era of new rules. The things that you did to, even when you were able to pass as recently as 2016, the medical marijuana. And what year was the minimum?
Past minimum wage, 18.
Okay. I think that things have changed dramatically. The political landscape has changed dramatically, even that short of a period of time.
Well, here's what's changed. The powers that be don't like referendums because they don't want to ever give the power to the people.
Well,
They want
every
the power.
time you move the ball a little with a referendum, they come back
And
and
they're
they
like
make it
making it
harder.
harder,
Yeah,
harder
they
and
do.
harder and harder. What they want is to say the people, because the people don't really understand. There's people who are one single issue. There's the people who are pro-life, and they don't care about anything else, and they'll vote pro-life. But then they give the keys to somebody who's going to do a lot of damage to them. But they don't know that because they're only focused on pro-life. They're only focused on when are we getting the tax cuts. I got a brother who's a dentist. He doesn't give a shit about anything except taxes.
How do you reach those voters in the middle if they only give a shit about one thing?
Well, the voters in the middle don't. I'm talking about the voters on the fringes. They don't. Look, these Trump tax cuts that might be coming, you are looking at one of the beneficiaries in America if it happens. Me.
Right.
It's gigantic for me. Gigantic.
Well.
But would I be willing not to have that for the common good?
There are some very wealthy people like you who have said that.
Yes, Warren Buffett, who's the wealthiest.
Yeah.
And so because I believe if you have one moment, I'm going to explain something to you. Here's what I think.
All the time in the world for you, Pot Daddy.
Here's the thing.
He smiled. You can't see it.
Here's what I believe. There's a castle where the 0.01% live. There's a moat that's very full of water and electrical eels and piranha and sharks. And that's where the middle class lives. That's about 90%, 80%. On the outside the moat, you got the most desperate on both sides. MAGA, because MAGA is all about helplessness and fear. That's why you're seeing the Josh Hawleys of the world raising hell with insurance companies now. And then you got the left who are like, what about us? As we keep giving the rich more and more and more and more of the water from the moat starts to sink. And when the moat starts to sink, so the rich can have more water to fill up their swimming pools and their jacuzzis inside the castle, the moat gets lower and lower. And then the guardrail to the castle, where the piranhas can't live without the water, the sharks can't live, the electrical eels, they die. And then the barbarians that want in so badly, they come charging in, but they don't have to swim through water, and they don't have to worry about the eels or the piranhas or the anything. And then they come in and take it. And we think this can't happen in America. Yeah, it happened in Cuba. Yeah, we were alive when it happened, but it can't. Yeah, it happened in Marie Antoinette. Yeah. You know when it also happened?
When?
January 6th.
I was just thinking that. You're just painting the picture of January 6th.
Except the
people
who
are the barbarians?
All right, here's the MAGA people are this. The MAGA people are saying we are being reversely discriminated against because we are white. It's a race war.
Are they? Is it true?
Of course it's true. Look, their kid gets a grade point, high grade point, a high test score, and another kid has lower test scores and lower grade point, and that kid gets in over your kid. How do you feel about that?
So
That's
you
MAGA.
think you support this anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts?
I don't support it. I'm Satanist. I'm telling you what's happened.
Right. But
DEI is DEAD, and woke is asleep. That's what this election was all about.
100%. I 100% agree with you. I'm asking you.
But the people on the left believe that they need to have affirmative action because of wrongs that happened years and years and years ago, and this is better for society. And they believe they're being discriminated against. The MAGA people believe that they are being reversely discriminated against. Their deal is, look, slavery was in the mid-1800s. Get over it.
So do you think that we are living in a post-racial society now? Do you think that Black people and brown people aren't discriminated against in housing and finance and different things like that now?
No, I think they are.
Okay, so then what? So we just ignore that and pretend like that
No,
doesn't
no,
exist?
I'm not taking a position. I'm
But I'm
explaining where we.
asking you for a position.
Well, what my position is this.
And if you're governor, you need to have a position.
Well, my position is this: at a certain point, you have to be able to take the training wheels off the bicycle. At a certain point, when is that point? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, people are pissed off. I mean, white people are pissed off about it.
Right. What this election was a race war. Whether you like him or you don't like him, Donald Trump is a genius.
Brilliant.
He saw it. He's
Brilliant.
not. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Well, he didn't just see it. He helped cultivate it and harness it.
Right. He was saying shit that
fomented
David,
it.
he was saying
fomented
shit
it.
that David Duke was saying 20 years ago.
Right.
And we were like, oh my God, the
Right.
KKK guy. The only difference between is that Donald Trump is not in the KKK. But Donald Trump harnessed this anger. I think he flamed it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason he's pardoned all these January 6th people because he knows he made them do it. And he knows that because he told us I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they're going to be okay with me.
I know.
He's a genius.
It's truer today than it was then, probably.
Oh, yeah. So who's right? Who's wrong? The big kick I get is Clarence Thomas striking down affirmative action. And that's the dumbest son of a bitch. You know, I'd like to see Clarence Thomas's test scores to get into Yale. He won't show them. But now that he got his, all right, no more affirmative action. He's the real trip for me.
Well, Ron DeSantis has cultivated a lot of that same, he is the anti-woke, anti-DEI.
He has watched the Donald Trump playbook, as have many people. Josh Hawley's doing it right now. He's trying to reinvent himself. Look, all of a sudden, Gavin Newsom is disavowing woke. Gavin Newsom was proposing $350,000 reparations for every Black in California. Now he's like, no, woke, no, DEI, no, because the pendulum is swinging. And look, you got to think about it like this. The other thing that happened in this election was the 10 transgender swimmers that the Democratic Party went all the way to the wall for versus the millions and millions and millions of parents and little girls who compete in sports. You're not going to ever win that deal. You're never going to tell a mother and a father and the participant that a boy gets to be a girl and compete. It's just not fair.
I don't know how the discussion about transgender rights and treatment became such a, well, I do know how. But it kind of saddens me that
it's all part of the DEI stuff. It's because it became that way because the Democrats were afraid to be against it and to say, look, because they thought they would be stepping on the LGBT community.
The reason it became part of the even debate and such a big part of the debate is because
when I saw the first ad, I had a conversation with Bill Clinton. I said, I'm going to tell you this is just right away. I said, I'm going to tell you something. And he said to me, it has to be answered. It has to be answered now. It was never.
Because the Republicans for many, many years have, and I say this all the time on the show, have mastered framing the narrative.
Well, think about this.
And the Democrats are always on the back foot.
And on the immigrants, all of a sudden we're talking about hearing Haitians eating dogs in Indiana or Ohio.
Right.
But the reason that's smart is because we love our dogs.
My dog is sleeping here.
They're eating our dogs.
I know.
Now, look, I've been to China. Cat's a delicacy in China. They eat dogs. They eat horses places. But he was brilliant because he got a word that somebody had eaten a dog in Ohio or Indiana, which they didn't.
It turned out to be not true, by the way.
That's not the point. The point is they're brilliant because they just say it, and then they say it, and then everybody says the Haitians are eating dogs. Right. The Haitians, we got to get out. The white South Africaners, we got to get in because they're being discriminated.
Do you feel like we're heading for a race war in the United States?
We're not heading. We're in it.
We're in it.
We're in it. This election was a race war.
Where do you think we're going to be?
And guess what? The Democrats played right into their hands. When they started prosecuting Trump, it was all black almost except for Jack. It was Alvin Bragg, Letitia.
The prosecutors you're talking
about. Black prosecutors in Atlanta. That was fuel for MAGA. Look who's coming after the president. And by the way, those claims were all bullshit. Look, does Donald Trump inflate his building price? Yes, everybody does. I'm not worried about Deutsche Bank being fooled by Donald Trump's appraisal because they get their own. They know what shit's worth. So they were prosecuting him for that. Joe Biden has documents in his garage. Mike Pence has documents in his garage. They're not prosecuted. Donald Trump, and I understand the difference. If you want to get down in the weeds, that Biden made a mistake and Pence made a mistake, but but that's not how they saw it. They saw the boxes in Biden's
garage. Our guys being persecuted by
our guys are being persecuted by these black prosecutors.
Right.
These black prosecutors are persecuting our Messiah.
Right.
We have and listen, Donald Trump is like a titanium steamroller. You can't hurt him. I was watching him go to court every day and sitting there. I mean, he's a bad man. He's a bad man. He can take a punch and he can give a punch. And so we're not headed to a race war. We're in it.
Don't forget to join us next week for part 2 of our episode with John Morgan.
Thanks for listening to Deeper Dive with Dara, a podcast by the News Service of Florida, hosted by News Service senior writer Dara Cam and produced by me, Mike Exline. Music for the podcast was recorded by Periodic Labs, LLC.